Hi, thank you for joining me for another Basics of the Bible video. This video we're going to cover the book of Genesis, so thank you for joining me. If you're new to these videos, I got a link there at the top of the description with a playlist of all the videos that I've created that you can watch for free, that we start in Genesis and end in Revelation, covering basics of the Bible. And a link that I'll put up there in the ID card is the story of the Bible, so you don't want to miss that one. It's a little longer, but it provides the framework that I use each of these videos and insert under. So today I'm going to talk about Exodus, the book of Exodus. The one-word description, and I got some of the notes down there in the description of this video you can read and follow along with if you'd like. The book of Exodus, our one-word description for Exodus is exiting or leaving. The book of Exodus is about the nation of Israel leaving Egypt and going to the promised land. Exodus continues the theme of showing that within a polytheistic culture, polytheistic means there are many different gods that everybody worshipped in Egypt, and even amongst the ancient Near Eastern time, they lived in a polytheistic culture. The book of Exodus says that within a polytheistic culture, Yahweh, the God of the Hebrews, is the one true God and creator and sovereign God. The God who spoke the world into existence, destroyed the world with a flood, provided a descendant to a barren woman named Sarah, and sustained Jacob's family during a severe famine. Just as God has done that, He is the same God that has the power to deliver the nation of Israel from slavery in Egypt to the land God had originally promised to Abraham. That's the purpose of the book of Exodus, to show who God was and how He will fulfill His promises that He gave to Abraham. So the title, let's read the key verse of the book first. Key verse of the book of Exodus is Exodus 19, chapter 19, verses 3 through 6. 19 verses 3 through 6. This is just before God provides the Ten Commandments to Moses. Exodus chapter 19, verses 3 through 6. I'm reading from the New American Standard Bible. Moses went up to God, and the Lord called to him from the mountain, saying, "Thus you shall say to the house of Jacob, and tell the sons of Israel, you yourselves have seen what I did to the Egyptians, and how I bore you on eagle's wings, and brought you to myself. Now then, if you will indeed obey my voice and keep my covenant, then you shall be my own possession among all the peoples. For all the earth is mine, and you shall be to me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words that you shall speak to the sons of Israel." Okay, that's very important verses there. That gives us the purpose of the law. God didn't give the law to the nation of Israel because He was mean. He didn't give it to them to restrict them. He didn't give them to them because it was the only way to eat, things or whatever. He gave it because He wanted them to look and be different than all the other people around them. As it says here, God wanted the nation of Israel to be His kingdom of priests, His holy nation that was unique and separate than all the other nations around them. And that was because God had promised, starting in Genesis chapter 3:15 and in Genesis chapter 12, God had promised that through the line of Eve, through the line of Abraham, there would come a Messiah that would bless the nation of Israel, and through Israel bless all the people of the earth. Okay? So the title Exodus comes from a few different ideas here. The Hebrew name for the book of Exodus is Shem, which means name, and it starts, a lot of these books in the Old Testament, particularly the Pentateuch, the names of the books in the Hebrew Bible are based on the first words of the first verse, if that makes sense. And so in Hebrews, or in Exodus, the first words are Ele Shemut. Ele Shemut. which means these names. And these names. LA is these, and then there's a vav at the beginning, which means and. And these shemut, names. And that vav at the beginning, the first letter of Exodus 1:1, is vav, which means and, which leads us to think that Genesis and Exodus are originally, they're one unit, they're one story. Exodus continues what ended in Genesis. But we get the name Exodus from what is known as the Greek translation of the Old Testament, which is called the Septuagint. And that first word is called exodos. Okay, sounds like Exodus. Exodos, which means to depart or to exit. Okay, to depart or to exit. Exodos. All right, I took Hebrew and Greek in seminary, but my enunciation is a little bit slow at times, so sorry about that. Exodus has prophecy. It fulfills the promise of Genesis chapter 15. So Genesis chapter 15, verses 13 and 14. Let's read those together. I'm pretty sure what they say, but I don't want to misspeak here. Genesis chapter 15, verses 13 and 14. God said to Abram, "Know for certain that your descendants will be strangers in a land that is not theirs, where they will be enslaved and oppressed for 400 years. But I will also judge the nation whom they will serve, and afterward they will come out with many possessions." So that was the prophecy given to Abram in Genesis 15, verses 13 and 14, that after 400 years of slavery under a foreign nation, which ended up being Egypt, they would be led out and delivered with many possessions. And the book of Exodus tells how that prophecy was fulfilled. A good outline that I like, a couple of outlines I like, is from Ryrie's Study Bible. He talks about how the first 12 chapters describes Israel and Egypt, how they're subjected to Egypt. And then chapters 12 through 18 talks about Israel's journey to Sinai, how they're emancipated and freed. And then chapters 19 through 40, it talks about Israel at Sinai, God's revelation to them and helping them in that way. So I like that outline that he provides for you there. So the book of Exodus tells us, it's an important verse that I read earlier, Exodus 19:6. God wanted them to be a kingdom of priests, a unique and distinct holy nation of people, which is why next God's going to give the book of Leviticus, the law, and the book of Numbers and Deuteronomy, further clarifying what it looks like for them to be unique and distinct and separate. My name's Christopher. Thanks for watching this video. Hope to catch you again in another video very soon as we continue our series going book by book through the Bible.